From 2018 to now, at this present time, we've been able to impact our community. So I'm going to ask all of our Grandpa members to please stand. If you're a member of our Grandpa community, please stand. Yes, let's give them a big hand. Big hand. All right, thank you. You may be seated. And then we're going to ask our committee to please stand. Dr. Jim Eisenberg, Elizabeth Evans, Soraya, Amy, Dr. Ansel, for putting this together. And you know, when you do the first thing, you start, right? You start, and over time it grows, and it will be bigger and better. And we know that working with Reverend Trollinger, who's the head of this facility, this is going to be something really, really great as we move into the years that are coming forth. I want to give Reverend Trollinger, who's been with us from the beginning. We started this from, come on up and say a few words. We want to thank Reverend Trollinger for his leadership. He's a grandpa, and for blessing us with this space to do this program. After we hear from Reverend Trollinger, we're going to ask Dr. Jim Eisenberg to come and our mayor, and then we have some special recognitions, and then we're going to kick this thing off. So, Reverend Trollinger.
Let's give Frank a good hand clap if we would. A great visionary. As I always say, whenever we open our doors up, you're welcome here at Calvary, and we pray that this won't be your this will not be your last time, but you'll continue to be here with us. We are honored by our Congressman Latimer being with us at this time, and Jen and Jeremiah and Chris. Thank you, Chris. I apologize for that. I apologize for that. Hold on. That's my ringtone. I do it to get on people's nerves anyhow, and I love Lion King. Welcome to our first Grandpa's Conference. When Frank and Brother Eisenberg, we sat down many years ago, I said to them, I'm not a grandfather, but we can come up with some ideas. Little did I know that at our second conference, while I was the speaker, my children were watching the presentation at Slater Center on Facebook and hearing me talk, and they started laughing because my daughter had something to tell me. And so I left that breakfast at Slater Center, and my daughter called me here at the office and said, Daddy, you're gonna get what you always wanted. I said, oh, you're gonna move in with me? You know? And she says, no, not gonna move in with you, but there's something that you always wanted. And I said, what? She says, well, I'm having a baby. And so December 28th, my grandson will be 5 years old. And as a grandpa, I already got the community room ready for his birthday party. They moved into a new apartment. All grandfathers help me if you know what I'm talking about. He needs his own bed. Okay, I ordered that. Okay. He needs a certain kind of rug. Okay, I ordered that. There's a fun chair that he likes, I think he'll like to play with. I ordered that, you know? And whenever she says he needs something, I buy it. Now, my daughter somewhat thinks, she says, you don't pay me no more attention no more. It's all about Princeton. Well, I said, you know, you had your opportunity. Now it's his. Even to the point now, I was telling someone, I said, even at my bank, my grandson, who's 4 years old right now, has $100,000 for him right now, just right now. So being a grandfather gives us the opportunity to pour into the next generation. And so as we meet today, let's learn, let's listen, and let's encourage one another, because we're not grumpy old grandpas. We are loving grandpas. Amen? Brother Eisenberg? Brother Jim? Your turn.
Dr. Eisenberg is coming, but Reverend Trollinger, you're not done. No, have a seat. I'm going to give you an additional assignment. One of our presenters was coming from Poughkeepsie, and it's snowing up in Poughkeepsie and in Peekskill, so some of the people who were scheduled to be here probably won't be here because of the weather. So, Reverend Trollinger, you know, Reverend Bottoms was to speak on the wisdom of grandpas. So we're going to see you as Reverend Bottom B or 2. So get ready to come back and share with us about the wisdom of a grandfather. So we're going to bring you back in his stead. Dr. Jim Eisenberg.
Good morning. Well, I appreciate Reverend Trollinger kind of taking us back to when we started Grandpas United 2018, 2019. And as he mentioned, we had a first news story. Frank and I knew a wonderful reporter for the Journal News, Rich Leibson, who unfortunately passed away. But he did the first interview with us about the idea of Grandpas United, and it was a front page story in the Journal News with pictures, and the headline was Gramps, Not Grumps. And I think for a lot of us, we hadn't quite thought about this. And when I looked around on Google to see about an idea for a grandpa organization, I just couldn't find anything. There was something for grandparents, and there was things for grandmas. And God love grandmas. We're supportive and appreciative, but nothing for grandpas. And we began to get grandpas started. And many of the men in this room became early on part of Grandpas United. I'm pleased today to see Joe Mosley and Deacon DeWitt because we began to have talent shows. There was a grandpa chorus, and hopefully we're going to continue with that. And we began to look at different ways grandpas can be involved in the community by being mentors to young people, by being involved in the community in ways that can be helpful, and also to bring grandpas together in ways that gave them a chance to share with other grandpas in their community kind of what it was all about. And then we began to grow. And with the support of County Executive George Latimer and Senator Andrea Stewart-Cousins and Senator Shelley Mayer, and of course with great support from Mayor Roach here in White Plains and members of the City Council, we began to get some funding to support building grandpas in other cities. Our colleagues from New Rochelle today, our colleagues from Ossining, Portchester, and Peekskill, as well as all our White Plains colleagues. So thank you for being here. As Frank said, this is a first Grandpa Summit, but there will definitely be more. We appreciate everyone being here today. My sense is we'll have people coming, throughout the day, and we really appreciate the relations with White Plains Hospital and the support from all of you. And I would say to you, if you know a grandpa who isn't here today, check him out. Say hello and say maybe you might want to be part of Grandpas United. There's a newsletter, which our colleague Ellen Barth has been editor, a newsletter you can share with your family and share with your colleagues. And it's great you're here, and thank you so much.
Don't go too far. I want to thank Jim for those words. And, we do so much for our young people in White Plains. And as the mayor noted, one of the things that excites us is that with our youth court program, we've wrapped our Grandpas United around our youth court program, and we basically have had over 100 young people, more than 100 young people in our youth court. And only of the over 100, only one youngster reoffended. But we grabbed that young person, that young man, and he's back in our youth court, and now he's a member of our youth court program. That really illustrates to you the power and the care of what we do in terms of engaging our communities. And all of these initiatives in White Plains, there's one person who's responsible for all of our kids. You know him as the mayor of White Plains. We can't do this work without the mayor. Come on up, Mayor. The mayor and common council that gives us the opportunity to serve our young people. Grandpa's United got started on the Mayor Roach's watch, and look at us now. We've got national awards. We've been on TV and the newspaper and radio. So we give kudos to our mayor for entrusting us with this opportunity to serve our community. Mayor Roach.
Well, who's more worthy of trust than Frank Williams with anything? And it's going to happen anyway, so you might as well go with the flow. It's great to see you all. This is a great program. I think as the program is today, not only are you helping other people, but there's some services that we can provide back the other way and some information that we can provide. I'm not a grandfather. I have 2 grown sons, so I at least with one of them, I think I'm in shouting distance, but we're not there yet. But I'll be asking some of you. I've seen some of you in action as grandpas. I have Mr. Bonestall in my neighborhood. I see him at the lake taking care of his grandchildren. It really is a great experience. My exposure to grandpas are my father's father died when he was 8, so I never met him. But my mom's father was a clown, a joker, always made us laugh. And I learned a lesson from him early on Halloween. We said trick or treat, and he said, well, which do you want, a trick or a treat? And so we thought, no one ever asked that before. Let's say the trick. So we say a trick, and he does a magic trick. And then we said, okay, where's the candy? He said, hey, that's it. So it prepared me for my career as a lawyer, because a contract is a contract, So I'm joined by my council colleagues, Jeremiah Fry-Pearson, Jen Puja, and Richard Payne. And I think that, it's just, we enjoy the program. We appreciate all of your participation in it. I know for most of you, I know you from other parts of your life. Keep it up. Have a good time while you're doing good.
Thank you, Mayor Roach, and thank you for your leadership and support. Now, Dr. Eisenberg has already mentioned that the county supports Grandpa's United. And we couldn't do this work as best as we're able to without the support of the Westchester County Youth Bureau. Ernest McFadden just arrived. Ernest Frazier, the new director of the Westchester County Youth Bureau. And without the support of County Executive George Latimer. And so we're going to honor George right now. Come on up, George. But we know that George has another great work. He's going off to Washington, D.C. But before he leaves, we want to thank him for his service to our community, for his leadership. He's a grandpa also. And clearly he understands the value of human service. You know what that proverb says, right? It takes a village to raise a child. But it also, I always think about 2 heads are better than 1, 3's better than 2. And so when we work together, we see the impact of our service. And when county government, municipal government, business, healthcare, when we all work together, we create an environment like what we see here in Westchester County. So we want to thank George. Jim, why don't you come on up and do the presentation? And we want to thank George and let him know how much we appreciate him for his legacy in Westchester County as the county exec. Jim.
So on behalf of Grandpa's United, George, Grandpa's United Civic Leader Award is presented to George Latimer, Westchester County Executive, for your outstanding vision, support, and commitment to our community. Congratulations and many, many, many thanks.
Thank you very much.
Please.
Thank you very much, Frank and Jim and my fellow grandpas. I had the pleasure yesterday of talking to my daughter who lives in Lexington, Kentucky, and we arranged to have a family dinner with my sister and our nephews in Washington. So I'm going to see my grandkids in a couple couple of weeks, and that's probably the best thing that happened to me yesterday. I appreciate this award, and I accept it on behalf of so many people in county government that really represents the support for this organization. Ken Jenkins, our Deputy County Executive, you know his name, you're going to hear it more in the future. The members of the county legislature, Ben Boykin, also part of Grandpas United, Jewel Williams-Johnson, Damon Morrow, former county legislators here as well. The Board of Legislators has been supportive of the financial initiatives that we've made over time. Ernest in his role with the Youth Bureau, and then his predecessor, Dr. Damian Harris Madden, who's now doing this on a statewide level. We've been very fortunate to have that level of leadership, and Leonard Towns as Commissioner of DSS and other key executives. I remember being told once that good judgment comes from experience, and experience comes from bad judgment. And when I think about the times my father told me to make sure the car was filled with gas before I left the house, I go, yeah, Dad, yeah, and I got lost in the moment, and I ran out of gas, and then I figured out how to get a hold of my father, and he said, son, you're gonna learn now what happens when you run out of gas. I'm not coming to help you out. And I learned the lesson. That's bad judgment, experience, and now I'm capable of giving the great advice: gas up the car before you leave the house, because you don't want to run out of gas in the wrong time in the wrong place. And in many ways, to me, that is what my grandfatherly advice is. It's a remembrance of when I was a young man and I did things that were either unwise, flat out stupid, things that Bishop Trollinger tells us how to be penitential for before the Almighty. And then you pass that knowledge on to try to help younger people who are going through the same thing that you went through and are going to learn the same lessons. They're going to have to learn it on their own terms, but to have that grandfather there, father with them there, and particularly for boys, because those of us who are men, we realize how thick the male skull is in certain ages, right? I'm saying this man shaking his head, yes, and me, all of us who are like that. Once you get to a level of physicality as a young man, 15 years old, 16 years old, you can play a sport, you're strong, do anything, until you find out that there's more to life than just using your physicality. And that is what this organization does brilliantly. The men who are devoting their time and energy and effort to bring that good advice and that good experience, that partnership, that allyship. Put your hand around the shoulder of a boy and let him know that he too can become a man, that it is possible for him to be productive and successful. And that's what this organization does. So on behalf of my colleagues in government that help make these policies happen and will continue even as I move on to the next big headache in my life, we look forward to continue this partnership. Frank, Jim, thanks much.
And George, we're also presenting a proclamation from Senator Shelley Mayer as well, congratulating the county exec for his work, his service, and his leadership. So, George,
Thank you.
so don't go. We're going to ask the mayor to come up.